when to start, pause, and what to say. In this section of the module, we will present a potential agenda for facilitating the distribution simulation as an instructor. While participants are playing the simulation, it is highly recommended to routinely pause and review major concepts with your participants. Checking in such a manner provides an opportunity for you to review the reports found in the game controller, which we will demo later on in the module, speak to the progress of the various teams by reviewing the leaderboard, as well as troubleshoot and answer any pertinent questions that participants may have. We recommend the following for round 1, since we ask participants to focus on sales, marketing, and finance. Prior to beginning the simulation, take some time to review the instructor material with your participants. Provide details on what ERPsim is and what they will experience during their time with you. After your short introduction to the simulation and the business context, provide your participants with a few minutes to assign roles and strategize, and then begin the simulation in the game controller. Sit back and let your participants play. For a review of how to configure the game controller, refer to the respective module. While participants are busy playing, every few minutes, inspect the inventory reports in the game controller. If all teams are out of stock for 3 to 4 products, at your discretion, you can decide to pause the game and explain MRP even before the end of round 1. However, keep in mind that we do not generally allow procurement prior to round 2. There's even a setting for it in the game controller. Now, around day 5 of round 1, most teams will have made some sales. This is a good time to pause the simulation and introduce the profit trend, the leaderboard, the sales trend, the inventory trend, the marketing and revenue report, the cash balance report, the net profit loss report, and the price market report. All these are found in the participant's Fiori Launchpad. Also emphasize that reports need to be refreshed manually so they display the current day. At this point, you can now unpause the simulation and let your participants continue. Anytime between days 10 and 20 of round 1, feel free to pause the simulation and introduce the geospatial report, the second row of tiles, the last tile. Demonstrate some of the filters that can be applied to the report. However, keep in mind that the standard configuration generally provides the most meaningful visual representation. At this moment, to promote a competitive atmosphere, take the time to also briefly show the leaderboard and the winning team. At the end of day 20, the end of round 1, the simulation will automatically pause. Take this time to show the reports found in the game controller. Pay particular attention to the leaderboard and end of round results. Make sure to compare the cumulative net income and the total sales for each team. Also take a look at the marketing and sales ratio with your participants in the price marketing report. If you are keen, feel free to ask participants how they are doing and perhaps allow them some time to share some strategy. At this point, if you are on time and your schedule allows it, give participants a small break before starting the explanation for round 2. Prior to round 2, you will need to introduce the replenishment process. The best way to introduce MRP is to use a real-life situation, like a normal shopping routine for your home. In this example, you have all the elements of the replenishment process: having a replenishment level, taking inventory of existing supplies, making a shopping list, actually shopping, and finally, receiving the goods when you return home. MRP is a difficult concept to understand for many participants, so don't hesitate to spend significant time introducing this concept. In order to play and understand the simulation, participants must understand MRP. In essence, MRP is the first step to replenishing your inventory. The predetermined forecast is set for 6,000 units or 1,000 units for each product. When MRP is executed, it will calculate the difference between what you already have in stock of each product and the forecasted 1,000 units of each product. This difference is what will be shown in your Manage Purchase Requisition tile as a purchase requisition for that product. Now, let's say you have 100 units of a product. When you execute MRP, if you have kept your forecast to 1,000 units, The purchase requisition created will be for 900 units of that product. Let's say you changed your forecast to 2,000 units for that particular product. Then the purchase requisition created for that MRP run would be 1,900 units. Remind participants, if they do make changes to their forecast, they must save the requirements before running and executing MRP. Take some time to also explain the requirements. Remind participants that warehouse capacity is 6,000 units in total, and they will pay $100 per day per additional 1,000 units over 6,000. Also, consider doing a demo of how to change the requirements and then run MRP. Explain the Manage Purchase Requisition style, the second step to the procurement process. Show how to convert the purchase requisitions to purchase orders with a step-by-step demo. It is best to mention that no parameters, such as vendor, should be changed. Changing parameters could cause the transaction to behave unexpectedly. Show the purchase orders tracking report as well. Mention that the purchase order will appear on the report the next virtual day. The delay to receive the products is 2 virtual days. Explain that participants will receive a confirmation message with the purchase order number after the PO has been submitted. This confirms that the PO is in the system and will be delivered in 2 days. If you are using DAS during your simulation, remind participants to right-click on any of the tiles or to use the FAQ to know how to proceed with a transaction or on how to interpret a report. At this point, prior to starting the simulation, give participants a few minutes to strategize round 2 and assign the newly minted procurement role. Participants should also complete all steps of the replenishment process before round 2 starts if they can. They can do so when the game is paused. Once you believe your participants are ready, start round 2. In essence, unpause the simulation in the game controller. After 1 or 2 days, check the purchase order reports in the game controller to make sure all teams have successfully submitted purchase orders. Initial stock for round 1 will be designated as orders from round 0. In other words, the stock that was received when you configured the simulation before the start of the game. If a team has no purchase orders for round 2, please confer with them. They have probably made an error. On day 10, if you wish, you can pause the simulation and introduce the competitive analytics tile. This tile allows participants to view competitive data for all teams. It may be helpful to demonstrate the different filters and views contained within the report and to encourage the participants to play with the report to generate new insights. These reports offer teams a fantastic opportunity to understand the competition, but they are quite complex. Participants will need additional time to review these reports if they are going to use them in real-time play. At the end of round 2, you can look at debriefing for that round. Announce the winning team for the round and compare the results of all teams using the end-of-round results report found in the game controller. Also consider reviewing the leaderboard trend and price marketing report to point out any anomalies. The debriefing of round 2 is similar to the debriefing of round 1. To find more debriefing tips, refer to the debriefing module. After debriefing, you can give participants a short break if your schedule permits. Remember to introduce the focus of round 3, which is to help participants improve their strategy by using the different reports and graphs available to them and to perhaps modify their forecast. As always, it is recommended to give participants a few minutes to strategize prior to starting the round. Start round 3. During this round, unless you have a specific point you need to address, it is probable that you will not need to pause the simulation. At this stage, most participants should have a good understanding of the game. At the end of round 3, announce the winner and the game winner. Move to the debriefing portion of the simulation. Once again, to learn more about debriefing, refer to the respective module.